Yeah, so we're gonna paint an old Hammer Space Marine, old Hammer like the 90s and the 80s and something. It's kind of a little trend that has been like kind of popping up. But one of my friends has been like on a tear with these like old school models painted in the old school way. He's really good at it. Kind of wanted to do one for old time's sake, and I can tell you already I hate it. I know I hate it, but I wanted to do one just just the amount of I'm looking at all these colors in front of me. There's like I could paint like 4 Marines with all of these colors, but that's okay. So a couple of things that you will notice. First of all is we're starting on a pre-painted like blue model. I mean, we painted the blue, classic Ultramarine blue, because if we're gonna go old school, we're gonna do Ultramarines, because why not? And then the base here is all sand, because that's right. When you say old school, we mean Goblin Green old school. So yep, that's right. The base is gonna be Goblin Green. And well, I guess that's kind of the best starting point. So when it comes to these old ass Marines, always start with the base. And you know why? Because back in the days when the bases were like this and the miniatures had like this little does it have it on there? Yeah, this little line on there. People needed to glue them. Needed to glue their basing materials on the model already. And it makes a lot more sense to do the base first, because like when I spend 2 minutes on the base, if we mess it up while we paint the rest of the model, it's a 2-minute fix. If we wait until the very end and then we touch up the feet, and then we mess up on the feet, then we're kind of boned because we spent a lot more time on the feet there, technically. So we start on the base. That's like tip number one, start with the base. You can paint the base any color you want, as long as that color is Goblin Green. I don't think I've used this color like at any point. So now we got the good. Ours was obviously primed white, because that's another big thing of like back in the days, because the paint was like really shitty. So getting like a clean coverage was like much easier on white. A real nasty thing. So they didn't use a lot of the washes back then in the days. So we're not going to use a lot of washes, which pains me dearly, because I love these things. Okay. And then once this is done, so we're going to dry brush it, because again, now you have like kind of two options here. Either you go with yellow, or you go with a bone color. I think we're going to go with bone. And so I haven't washed my brush now, so what we're going to get is a mix of like the Goblin Green and the skeleton bone. We're just going to dry brush this like really quickly. Paint is still kind of wet, so I think I like the yellow more. Oh yes. Oh, that's the color. Oh, this is it right here. Oh my god. Oh, this is perfect. So now, as advertised earlier, we're just gonna touch up the feet, because the dry brush and the base coats for the base was not like the perfect thing. So now, next step, let's do the vents first. We need black here, and then we'll do the joints, because there's a couple of like deep like little joints and everything. And also, we're not really interested in like repainting, because we're not using shades. We're not using the airbrush. We're not using contrast or anything fun, or anything remotely fun. We're not using it today. So we're going to do the vents in black. And then I have to stay on camera. I realized yesterday I was moving way more like off camera. Give it a good rim job to that backpack, if you know what I mean. And then I realized I made like a fatal mistake for models from the 90s. Is I drilled the barrel, and back then people were not like enthusiastic about drilling barrels. I think there's a couple of cables in there, which we're gonna do for the sake of. This is a one-piece model, and getting that one there is kind of a. You know what? We're. So this looks kind of good. And now what we're going to do is, can we finish this, or do we do base? I think we're just going to do base coats for now, just to get everything like in place, because it is kind of a nightmare to do. So next, we're going to paint orange, folks. Oh my god. So we have moved to the orange, and basically that's just going to be to give our yellow on the eagle. We're really not, the shoulder plates are going to be yellow as well, and that little skull, maybe we do that little skull. What I love the most about this is that this is all like all things that you learn not to do over time, or like over the years. They've came out with like all these great products so that you wouldn't have to. I think we're gonna do this one the hard and like the painful way, and then I'm gonna find myself another of those old ass little marine, and we're gonna do the same style but with like nowadays kind of techniques. Actually, the more I think about this, the more I like this idea. So we want that orange, just is literally just a base coat for the yellow. So we might touch it up again later, and then we'll do brown for pouches and whatnot, because that's. I think it's just because it's something very different than what I'm usually doing. So maybe, probably like the same thing as like when I did the cultist with the slap chop. Like I was really like having a blast. Man, this is like every marine that you find in like a garage sale. Found some more armor joints. So we got a couple of base colors down here. We'll just add the red now. Well, actually, we can do more orange. Ugh, just to make sure that our yellow is like not a pain in the butt. And the shoulder plates are not gonna really stay orange like at all. We're just gonna repaint them like almost all yellow. But for the eagle, it's kind of important because the eagle had like a lot more definition in it. This is amazing. These old models, they were like one brick, right? Like the shoulder plate is attached to the torso, which is attached to the other shoulder plate. With it's not like different parts, so they're really like bricked into one another. So having that like orange is gonna play out. I know it looks weird when you look at that. So next up, we're gonna do red. Now red, we are blessed because the biggest problem with red, first of all, there's got to be red on your miniature. If you're painting it in this style, there's got to be red somewhere. I don't care where exactly. There's got to be red. Otherwise, you're fucking up. Next to the Goblin Green base, your model needs to have red is like the other rule, okay? There's no way around it. For the sake of like realism and whatnot, I'm also using a Games Workshop like classic brush, not one of those fancier ones. A small layer brush. And the only reason that we started on blue is just because it's so long to do and there's no... I can do the eyes in red right now. I will just whatever. Because we're going to come back with the blue anyway in like 2 seconds, so... Why bother? Okay. And I know it looks completely ugly right now. That's okay. So next up, so we're going to need to switch brushes here for just a quick second. Because we're going to do the silver. Now, I said this in the dry brush video. Silver is exclusively dry brushed on top of black. That's the only way to paint silver known to mankind at this point. Now it's going to be like as heavy or as light as you want. We're doing it first just because dry brush is like messy, and I don't want to spend like 8 days touching up stuff. So it's gonna be easier to. Dry brush is like very hard to kind of control. When it gets messy, it's just messy. Whereas the other colors, if we pay a little bit of extra, little vents here on the side. Because you got to remember, we're not using shades in this kind of thing. So we have to make sure that we get like our I guess we can't really dry brush this part, so we're just gonna paint it over like the side of the vents here that I wanted in silver. So sadly now's the dry brush has got to go. So this is starting to look like something we're not decent yet, but we got something. I guess we could do. We should do the vents as well. I don't recall the vents being anything other than you know what? Let's dry brush the vents here with silver. And you notice I did the armor, like the big base coat on the armor, but then it's gonna be much easier to finish with the armor because it's so large and so kind of like encircling everything that it's gonna be like really easy to just finish up with the armor. So next up, let's do the red. The red is kind of easy to do. So first off, we'll start cleaning it up with our Mephiston red. And then the eyes were kind of a pretty spot on, like not spot on because they're overlapping everything, but I mean spot on as in we didn't mess them up in any way. So next up, we're gonna add, you guessed it, orange to our red because I highlighted back then. So we're just gonna do like a very, and then we have to do the eyes as well. And again, you can see I'm not giving a crap about like the kind of the shape of the helmet. I'm just going where I want to go, which is towards the middle. So the back piece is kind of red, and then the forward piece is like more orange, like the forward half, I guess, is more orange. But then we'll fix this. And now we're gonna add just like a bunch of yellow. We're gonna add that like crisp yellow in there. I hate everything about what I just said, but that's, so we get like a very light orange. And then same thing here for the eyes. We're just gonna keep doing our little. And now, like the eyes now, like once we the blue back in place, you know, it makes a lot more sense now what they look like. So we got our red. It's highlighted with orange, which is still weird to me, but that's okay. And now we're gonna do yellow because, as I said earlier, we're finishing up with the blue. Ariel yellow, which is a classic, I think it used to be called like Griffin yellow or golden yellow or something, like the yellowest of the yellows. So on these shoulder plates, I'm just really redoing basically everything. I don't want the orange, or maybe just like a very, very like fine edge of orange like in between the plates, but that's not really what we're after. Leave some in like the eye sockets and whatnot, but the rest of it is just gonna be straight yellow. The look, the classic look. So for the chest piece, I'm interested in leaving some more orange just to get like this little like eagle thingy. I want to leave it. And like now's the part where if you're doing this like with not like the kind of the old techniques, it makes sense to just like take like some sort of like orange wash and go over these details. So you get like a clean yellow with some extra bright yellow. So that's kind of it for the yellow. Might add some white. Last thing that we need to do before going over the blue and making a sense of all of this mess. And we could add some skeleton bone in there just to make sure, like, make one final like edge highlight. I guess we'll do that. Same techniques and same kind of interesting color choices. I mean, despite the fact that the blue is very blue and nothing else. So I've switched to a slightly larger brush. I don't know why exactly. And now we're basically just like going over everywhere that we went a little bit too ham. And so, oh my god, look at it, like classic freaking model right here. All right, so next up, I think what we're gonna do is we're just gonna go straight up like super old school, and we're just gonna add some. Just add some white into that. I don't want this blue color they used to do this. I don't want to mix and match, so we'll just add some white. This is kind of like the only like time consuming part of this whole thing. Because you want to put like a little accent on the shoes so that like the three kind of layers show up. Okay, so we got something like this, and now the fun part is adding our little Ultramarine symbols on there. So this is kind of the easiest way to do an Ultramarine symbols is you do a little circle. Like so. And next we close to the middle. There's the little symbol there that's messing me up. Next you do a little plus sign on there. Like so. And that mine's kind of wonky a little bit. It looks almost like more like an umbrella. So again, is this perfect? No. Can you take more than 30 seconds to do it? Yes. So again, the base, most classic color of all time, I think. Some people like this with more bone color, but I digged the yellowish. This is the first like old armor model that I do in like probably since. Okay, so whatever. So we got our little Ultramarines here painted in the classical scheme, and then what we'll do is this one was like really using only like old school technique to produce this old school look. But what I'm more interested in is next time what we'll do is we'll do a similar guy using, we want to get the same kind of finish but with modern technique, because this was all like I'll just say it like all the crappy technique from back then, like all the really wonky, like almost no shading, dry brushing the freaking silver, and then the orange into the red, and then the orange into the yellow. So there's a lot of like improvement, but I mean this has like a certain style. Like I'm gonna put this in the window, and some people are gonna comment on it. Oh man, this is like such a classic look. So, and I'm not a more tidy guy. I think a lot of the a lot of what makes this style really well is if you're like really clean with your highlight and everything, which I was not for this video. I'll be fully upfront. Like I was not like the cleanest guy. You can see the helmet is kind of the better part because that part I was clean, but then on the other areas I got a little sloppy, just a little. But I'm very happy with my little classic hammer, old hammer Space Marine here.